What is going on, everybody? It is me again. It's Horror Fan 34, and welcome to another video. Excuse me for the burping. But I welcome back to another review for the excuse me, the horror challenge in October. And I figured this would be another good one to talk about. Still sticking in the 80s here. Now this is, I believe, 86. This film, yeah, 1986. And I figured I can't believe I have not talked about this one yet on the horror challenge or any of the horror challenges I've done. But I feel like this is an underrated gem, in my opinion. I love this movie a lot. I think when it comes to like 80s horror films or like 80s like sort of like films in general, I was thinking this one is one of the more underrated ones that doesn't get brought up that much. And of course, that review is going to be on The Hitcher. Never Pick Up a Stranger. Love that cover, the original cover. Always loved that poster art of the movie. Now, but the Hitcher, 1986. This is directed by Robert Harmon. Now, I should have looked up what he did before. So hold on one second. I feel like I should have looked up what he did before this, or after this, I should say, because I know I looked it up. Yeah, okay, that's what I thought. So, Robert Harmon. This is the same guy that went on to direct They, which was an early 2000s horror film that was just eh. And he also did Nowhere to Hide or Nowhere to Run. I think that's what it was. Nowhere to Run. That's right, with Van Damme. I would say this is definitely his best film that he's directed. The Hitcher. And of course they remade this in 2007. Which, you know, I don't hate the Hitcher remake, but like the main reason why I watched that film and enjoy that film is because of Sean Bean as the Hitcher. But I still think Sean Bean is no Rutger Hauer. But for people who don't know the story about the Hitcher, it deals with it's a guy named Jim Halsey, played by C. Thomas Howell from The Outsiders. He ultimately ends up picking up a hitchhiker, played by Rutger Hauer, and then from there on, you know, it turns out it wasn't a good idea, and now this guy is sort of stalking C. Thomas Howell, pretty much. So it's basically, you know, C. Thomas Howell against Rutger Hauer, pretty much. And that's pretty much the premise of the movie. Now, I wanted to get another thing, too. It's written by Eric Red. And Eric Red, that's a guy that went on to direct things like Bad Moon and things like that. I thought he really did a good job writing the movie. Getting on to the cast, I mean, first off, Rutger Hauer. Always been a huge fan of Rutger Hauer. I miss Rutger Hauer, whether it be in Split Second, Surviving the Game, Blade Runner, Nighthawk. He was the bad guy in Nighthawks. Always been a huge fan of Rutger Hauer. I would say this is my personal favorite role of his, in my opinion. I think this is the best thing he's done. Rutger Hauer as the hitchhiker, as the Hitcher, is absolutely just fantastic. C. Thomas Howell does a good job as Jim Halsey. You also have people like Jennifer Jason Leigh, who is actually right here as sort of the female character of the film. You also have Jeffrey DeMunn, who was on The Walking Dead and The Blob from 1988. He's in here as well, in a supporting role. And what makes this film work is the main two guys, C. Thomas Howell and Rutger Hauer. Because it's like a cat and mouse game between these two guys, and it's a guy by himself versus a guy. And it's interesting to see like the dynamic between that. It's like, what is this hitchhiker like? Is he obsessed with Jim Halsey? Like, is there like some sort of an obsession with him? And you kind of make sure to ask questions, pretty much. And I think get some more pictures inside here, but I think this is a extremely well done creepy concept. Where another thing too, I wanted to mention that the musical score is really, really well done. Mark Isham, who did the score, I think did a great job on the musical score. Very creepy score. and I love the whole atmosphere of the film. And Rutger Hauer just gives a terrifying performance as the Hitcher. And just showcase how I always thought Rutger Hauer was such an underrated actor. Like I said, C. Thomas Howell does a good job. I also really like Jennifer Jason Leigh, and especially that whole crazy part when Jennifer Jason Leigh is tied in between the two semi trucks and they're going in opposite directions, and very crazy stuff that just happens in this film that just makes you go, whoa, I also really like Jeffrey DeMunn in the film as well. Always thought he was a good character actor. And, I just think Robert Harmon did an excellent job directing the film. He has a really nice style to the film. And overall, I mean, this is just a underrated gem from the 80s that doesn't get brought up that much. Very good psychological horror film about this hitchhiker. And C. Thomas Howell trying to escape the clutches of this guy. And then they did a very terrible sequel to this many years later called The Hitcher 2, I've Been Waiting, which basically kills off C. Thomas Howell in the first 30 or so minutes. Jake Busey was the Hitcher in that one. Then I think you had Carrie Wooer from Eight-Legged Freaks and a lot of other stuff as the female. Yeah, you ruin this film by killing off C. Thomas Howell. And I like Jake Busey, but he's no Rutger Hauer. And besides, I just thought it was interesting seeing a guy by himself facing off against this hitchhiker. I always thought that was such an interesting way of doing a horror film. And overall, it's just a very solid movie. I mean, if you want to see a underrated horror gem from the 80s, I think The Hitcher is definitely one to check out if you haven't seen it yet. So that's pretty much it for my review for The Hitcher. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.